What's going on, fellow freelancers? It's Top Ranking Noob, and I'm at it again with another helpful video, this time with Anthem. But hey, if you guys enjoy other MMOs, because you know I do, make sure you head on over to U4GM. They got all kinds of cool items for your other games, such as Fallout, Fortnite, and whatnot. I'm going to be putting a link down in the description, along with a coupon code that's going to be saving you 5%. Today I'm going to be completing some of the daily quests, and I figure it's a good excuse to create a kind of a tips and tricks video, as well as feature at least one of the Masterworks weapons. And so I'm going to mix this up. Every episode I'm going to introduce a new weapon. Some of them will be really awesome, some of them are going to be eh. So let's get started and take a look at what we're working with today. So the first weapon I'm going to feature in this particular video is going to be called the Artinia's Gambit. Now, this isn't necessarily my favorite Masterworks, but I figured we'll take some time to see if we can get it to work and if it can be applicable in the game. Basically, what this is it's a light machine gun. It's an upgrade from the Relentless, but whenever you reload, it'll detonate a combo if you have any enemies that are near you that are primed. Now, in this case, I got a couple of... what do I got on this one? I got electrical damage, which I'm going to be using a ranger, so I guess that's helpful. 15% harvest bonus, pistol ammo, which I'm not going to be using. Well, I might use it as a backup weapon. And then the marksman rifle damage. This is a light machine gun, so we're not going to benefit from that damage. Nonetheless, as I said, this isn't my favorite weapon. Having to reload takes time, and so you can get away with this quite a bit if you're doing like hard mode or normal mode. Once you start getting into the Grandmasters, though, sitting there taking the time to reload right next to enemies can get you dead. Nonetheless, let's play around with it and see if we can make this weapon. And just to kind of knock down two birds with one stone, I'm going to be doing some dailies in order to test out this weapon. Let's take a look and see if we can find our dailies. Now, one of the first things I'm always going to do whenever I log in is I'm going to do my legendary contracts. You can do up to 3 of those every day, and if you do them on Grandmaster 1 or above, you're going to be guaranteed at least one Masterwork plus or minus whatever drops. Aside from that, we need to do at least a couple of regular contracts here, as well as defeat 30 scars. I need to get the Gear Master at least 3 times, complete 1 Stronghold, complete Temple of the Scars, which is also a Stronghold, and I need to do at least 3 world events. Now, quite a bit of these I can knock out all at one time. Naturally, if I do Temple of Scars, that's going to knock out 2 dailies. I can get plenty of gear kills in the process of doing that. And it says to complete at least 2 contracts. If you do legendary contracts, it's going to count towards that as well. And every day I knock out all 3. Defeating scars is one of the easiest things, so the most mundane thing on the daily list today is going to be the world events. So the first thing I'm going to do is knock out my legendary contracts. I'm playing on Grandmaster 1 mode, and I'm doing it solo. The whole point of this is to just test out this weapon to see how well I can actually utilize it. I'm not a big fan of this weapon. In fact, I don't recommend it at all. The only way I'd recommend this weapon is if it's the only Masterworks weapon that you have, or if you're just doing a YouTube video talking about this weapon. Ultimately, what I'm working with here, I got my Ranger, and I got all primers right now. So I'm using my Frost Grenade, and I'm using Venom Darts. The whole goal is to prime the enemies here. This isn't necessarily the recommended build. I'm just trying to get the most out of using this weapon. And what I found is you can get away with this weapon a lot in hard mode. Once you get into Grandmaster 1 mode, you have to reload in order to detonate them. And as you can see here, reloading takes a fair amount of time. In Grandmaster playthroughs, Grandmaster 1, 2, or 3, the whole time you're sitting there reloading, you're getting shot. Especially if you're in a situation where there's a lot of enemies. You might be able to get away with it with 1 or 2 enemies, but if you're in a group of enemies, they're going to gun you down pretty quickly. Now, you might also be able to get away with this in Grandmaster 1 if you're in a group. Right now, I'm soloing. And I'm getting away with a lot, but I've also died a lot doing this. As you can see here, I mean, they're just kicking my ass every time I try to reload. So if you do have this weapon, the best approach is to just use it as a regular weapon. Don't deliberately try to detonate enemies. Just reload when you gotta reload. And if you so happen to detonate some bad guys in the process, well, that's just cherries on top. Other than that, going out of your way to deliberately try to detonate a group of enemies is more likely to get you killed than anything else. Nonetheless, the real test is how well it does in our strongholds. You got to do Tyrant Mines at least once with every weapon just to see how well you like it. So I did this on Grandmaster 1, and I did do it with a group just to see if I could actually get away with a little more reloading. If enemies are focused on other parts of my team members, I might be able to utilize this weapon quite a bit better. Or not. Honestly, I got away with a little bit more as the fight progressed, but ultimately, even with the enemies focusing, you know, when you try to sit there and reload next to enemies in a stronghold, they're going to tear you up. You can't stay still for that long. You got to keep on moving. So again, the best approach with this weapon is to just use it like a regular light machine gun. Reload when you got to reload. If you accidentally detonate some primed enemies in the process, well, that's just peaches on top, right? But ultimately, if you sit there and try to reload next to enemies just to detonate them, those enemies ain't going to take it. They're going to tear you up. This was probably the longest it had ever taken me to complete this stronghold, aside from maybe my first couple of runs. But just with this weapon not doing a whole lot of damage, it took a while. But, I mean, although the weapon didn't really bring a lot to the fight, ultimately this run wasn't in vain, because for the first time in a long time, I actually walked away with a pretty nice haul of Masterwork Weapons. I don't know if they reverted it back to what it was, but I walked away with like 5 Masterworks from this one run. I shouldn't say weapons. I actually only got one weapon, which I already had. This is the Thunderbolt. This is an awesome weapon, and I'll definitely premiere this in one of my next videos. But out of the 5 that I did get, it's still only one that I actually needed. And I think it was this one right here, the General's Favor. So this is pretty cool as well. But the rest of the items I already had. That's one of the bad things about the Masterwork drops, is you get a lot of repeats in this. I wish there was a way to prevent that. But nonetheless, I guess it just adds to the need of grinding. This is the first time I've gotten 5 Masterworks in a run since that one 11-hour window where freaking Masterworks were dropping like freaking candy out of a piñata. So I'm not going to complain about the run. Ultimately, though, as far as the weapon goes, I'm definitely not going to give it my stamp of approval. This is probably going to be the last time that I use it. Nonetheless, I hope you guys found this video helpful, and if you do, please smash that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you all next time.